This is a Thompson cast. I am Mel Thompson. You know, in Portugal, the austerity measures are going to be hot and heavy. And once they start to take hold, there's going to be more civil unrest than you can shake a stick at. The government of Portugal has announced that the budget plan for next year is going to include sharp tax increases, pension cuts, and other saving measures. Now, you've already had protests at the beginning of this particular week regarding this budget. What do you think is going to happen once these new policies take hold? That's correct. You're going to have a substantial amount of civil unrest. Whether or not they will even work is still up in the air. But one thing is certain. All of these things combined, pension cuts, tax increases, and other saving measures, basically combined, will cause people to take to the streets, which they already have. And when I say take to the streets, I'm not necessarily talking about violent protests or overturning of cars. The very fact that people are protesting also can lead to strikes, work stoppages, and slowdowns. All of these things can impact foreign direct investment. It can impact it on the side of transportation, productivity, and manufacturing. The other side is the potential for more robust protests that would include some degree of property damage or destruction. No one knows for sure whether or not this can happen in Portugal. My assumption is it can happen anywhere. It's happened here over things that are less meaningful, if you will, to every single working person. We have riots occasionally in the United States over incidents in one particular city, one major particular city, where there is a problem, can certainly make it to the evening news and cause people who are investors from China or other countries who are looking at a project in that city to pull back. The same type of caution should be applied by the foreign direct investor from the United States who looks at protests and the policies that causes the protests in places like Portugal. You don't know what's going to happen. This is something that you can't simply ignore. Do you give up on foreign direct investment? Absolutely not. But you should know that there are pitfalls that are politically caused when you start looking at foreign direct investment in other countries. Now, this budget, what they are now calling initially the draft budget for 2013, is one of the harshest in Portugal's recent history, and it could take away the equivalent of a month's wages for many workers. Now, the government says the measures are needed to cut the national debt as Portugal strives to restore its financial health. And you also have critics on the other side who say that the measures will choke the economy. Now, last year, Portugal received $100 billion in a rescue package from the European Union and the International Monetary Fund. And the reason that this money was given was to prevent Portugal from going bankrupt. So obviously, there's some strong economic risks involved in getting involved with particular types of projects in Portugal at this time for the foreign direct investor. And the fact that it is a draft budget in and of itself creates a political risk. This is not the final product. You don't know what the final product is going to be. It could be better for the people there. It could be worse. And even if it is better for the people there, given the circumstances of the economic realities of Portugal, it's probably not going to be something that they like any better. This is a very, very volatile situation in Portugal at this point. And even if you take out the draft budget and the protests that happened Monday, if you take these things out of the mix, and look at the fact that in the past they got $100 billion for one express purpose, which is to keep them from going completely under. The structural defects in the economic model that Portugal is now living on, and the political risks that are inherent in that structural model, and the defects therein, should give you pause as a foreign direct investor. The lack of confidence that you should have should only be tempered by the potential down the road. And that potential down the road can only be harnessed if, in fact, changes are made, not necessarily just with this particular austerity package that the government's putting together, but long term. Portugal must show the foreign direct investor that long term they are going to be on a different path and a different road. So far, they have failed to demonstrate this. Now, the other risk that you must also consider are elections. Elections are always good, in my opinion, as I have said many times. However, they always come with political risk because you don't know how things are going to pan out until a party or a person takes control. And quite frankly, neither do the people who are running, because governing is much different from campaigning, and people find this out all the time. People have one set of rhetoric for one set of problems, then they get into office and they realize that things are beyond their control to a certain degree, and they have to somehow temper their enthusiasm. This causes people to be upset, this causes people to be frustrated, and this also can cause civil unrest. There are many, many parts to this puzzle with Portugal, and they all need to be looked at and considered, and then there should be additional concern over what you don't know. However, walking away from Portugal as a foreign direct investor is not even remotely a possibility, or is it a good idea. I just encourage you to understand the political ramifications of everything that comes out of the government and how it relates directly to foreign direct investment and political risk. This has been the Thompson Cast. I am Mel Thompson.